This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And joining me right now is Keyvan Salehi. He's the president and CEO of Nighthawk Gold. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: NHK on the TSX and MIMZF on the OTCQX. And Nighthawk Gold will be a participant at the upcoming Precious Metals Summit Beaver Creek, a hybrid event this year happening September 8th through the 11th. With that, Keyvan, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, Robert. It's great to be here. Doing well.
It's great to have you on. So the last time we did an interview with a representative from Nighthawk Gold, we published that interview on August 30th, 2020. So let's get an update. What would you say are some of the company's highlights in the last 12 months or so?
Sure. So in the last 12 months or so, at least dating back to January of this year, there have been some changes. The previous CEO, Dr. Michael Byron, he decided to step down in the fall of last year. And that's when, around November of last year is when my announcement came out that I was joining the company as president and CEO. At the same time, because Dr. Byron was doing kind of two roles, he was CEO, but he was also the top exploration guy in the company. And I'm not a geologist by background, we also had to look for a new vice president of exploration. So in the last 6 months or so, I'd say the biggest changes are myself starting as president CEO in Jan of this year. Along with me, we hired Richard Roy, who's our top exploration and vice president of exploration for the company. And then there are a couple other things that, both myself and Richard coming into the story earlier this year, we've made changes in terms of mostly on the strategy side. If you look at the company over the past decade or so, a lot of the drilling and the focus was within the Colomac Center, which is our core asset, and that's like a 4.5 kilometer radius. But when we came in, we kind of look at the entire land position, which consists of just under 1,000 square kilometers of highly prospective ground within the Greenstone Belt. And we identified a lot of opportunities across the entire property that had been looked at, but hadn't really been drilled extensively. If you look at the current resource, about 2/3 of that resource is an underground resource at the lower grade of, let's say, 2 to 2.1 gram per ton. Another 1 million ounces of 1.65 gram per ton material. And that's one of the things that for me, it's been one of the biggest changes for the company, is that how do we change the overall narrative about Nighthawk? Because most people you talked to in the past, they thought that this was a lower grade underground resource in the middle of the Arctic, whereas I think it's actually the opposite. I think there are a lot of potential for identifying near surface, higher grade open pit mineralization, which is essentially what we're doing right now. So that's been our key focus for this year. We announced a very large program of 70 to 80,000 meters of drilling across the entire property, looking at some of those satellite greenfield targets, but also focusing on growing the existing resources, both at Colomac and some of the other targets that we acquired earlier in the year, like Chemicas. So kind of to summarize it all up, we're looking at significantly increasing and growing our open pit resources over the next 2 years with really aggressive exploration programs across the entire property. And we also think that we can actually improve the grade of that open pit resource as well. Anywhere from 2.5 gram per ton material over the next 2 years is what we're targeting.
Very good. So as you said at the outset, when I asked you that question about, some of the highlights, you mentioned that you just came into the job earlier, I believe you said January 1st. So what's your background? What were you doing prior to joining Nighthawk?
I'm a mining engineer by background, and I've been in the business for around 20 years. I've worked for companies like Indin Lake Gold in the past, St. Andrew Goldfields, which was kind of like the combination of the Indin Lake of today. Was started with the combination of Indin Lake, St. Andrew, and eventually Newmarket. And then, that's when I left the company. And then companies like Lakeshore Gold, FNX mining earlier in my career. So I've been around for 20 years. I'd say about the first 10, 12 years of my career was in the operations, anywhere from chief engineer, technical roles, and, mine management. And then for the latter part of my career, I've spent on Bay Street doing a lot of business development, corp development, capital markets, M&A, and strategy. So that's really my background.
Very good. So you alluded to my final question a little bit already at the outset, but let's get a full wrap here. What would you say are some of the company's value catalysts then for the rest of 2021 going into 2022?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, coming into the position in January, we got a late start, but what we really wanted to do is what we announced was a 2-year aggressive 200,000 meter drill program. In essence, that would have doubled the work that Nighthawk had done over the past decade or so. So we wanted to be really aggressive. We didn't want to wait another 5-6 years to grow our resources. So that was one thing that we wanted to do. Of course, we have to have the financing in place to do that. So we had to do 2 rounds of financing, one in April and one in July, which got us pretty much cashed up to the work that we wanted to do. The way we split up the 200,000 meters of drilling was 70 to 80,000 meters in 2021, with an additional 120 to 130,000 in 2022. Right now for this year, we're on pace to complete the 75,000 meter drill program that we wanted to do. We actually think that we might be able to do less drilling and save on some costs and get all the objectives and milestones that we wanted to get done in place for 2021. So I'm really happy about that. And then for next year, it's going to be a follow-up of all the work that we do this year. Our key focus and I'd say a major milestone for us on the other side of this 2-year, 200,000 meter drill program is getting to some sort of an economic assessment. A PEA is probably I'd say most likely the most natural next step for Nighthawk, given that the story and the company has been around for so many years. So that's what we're working towards. And the concept and the basis of that PEA is what I kind of mentioned earlier in the interview, is that we think a 2.5-3 million ounce open pit resource of grades of plus 2 grams per ton material can deliver a pretty robust and economic PEA in today's gold price environment. So that's what we're looking at doing. For the rest of the year, to answer your question in more detail, is we have a lot of drilling that we've done so far this year. We're kind of slow. The results are a little bit slower to come back in. And we still have another, I'd say, anywhere from 25,000 to 30,000 meters of drilling to do. We are now, I would say, in the 11th hour of kind of looking at where we can increase the resources substantially. So, once all that drilling is done, we close the camp up around, mid-October, depending on weather conditions. And we should have all the results back by, I'd say, the end of the year. And we will be coming out with a new mineral resource estimate by early next year. I would say mid Q1 of next year is the latest that we will publish our new resource estimate. And that between now and end of Q1 of next year, that's something that I think investors and our followers should really look forward to.
Very good. Well, Keyvan, where can our audience go and find more information on Nighthawk Gold?
So our website is a great place to look for information. And then, as I said before, with all the drilling that we're doing, there will be a lot of news releases as the assays and results come back in. We will be announcing and publicizing all the assays that are coming back as a result of all the drilling that we've done this year. So.
Very good. And that website is www.nighthawkgold.com. Keyvan, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck. Stay safe. And I look forward to our next update.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Again, my name is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network, and we're a proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metals Summit Beaver Creek, a hybrid event this year, happening September 8th through the 11th. Nighthawk Gold will be participating, and thank you all for watching.